Welcome back. We've got another Splendor video for you this week. This strategy is going to be a lot more complicated, so buckle your seatbelts. Here we go. While the strategies we've seen so far have used mostly the yellow tier cards, this strategy will focus almost exclusively on the green level cards. A quick rules refresher. If you look across the top of this game setup, you'll see that there are 5 nobles, which I will sometimes call guilds, across the top of this setup. There are always the number of players plus 1 of these guilds, and because of this strategy will work best when there are 3 or 4 players, because it will be achieving most of its points through getting the nobles. The nobles will be distributed randomly. There's 2 different kinds. One kind needs 3 of 3 colors, the other needs 4 of 2 colors. The 3 of 3 colors tend to be stronger for this strategy, for reasons that we'll discuss later. But in general, if there are 3 guilds that work together well, this strategy is possible. The idea behind this strategy is to get the guilds as quickly as possible, which means making buys much more frequently. The way that this is achieved is by buying almost all green cards. This way, the green cards can be free, and so instead of taking coins and then using them to buy cards, you're just getting to the point where you can buy cards most turns without having to take coins very frequently. For example, while a good green-blue game split might be 4 green cards, 4 yellow cards, and 2 blue cards, I won a game recently playing this strategy where I had 10 green cards and only 1 blue card and 1 yellow card. There are 3 main components to this strategy, all of which you'll need to take careful account of to be successful with this strategy. The first is pursuing your own points by making rapid buys in the greens as you pursue the guilds, and eventually 1 or 2 blue cards to finish off the game. The second piece is coin defense, which means sitting on as close to 10 coins as is possible for most of the game, specifically in the colors that prevent other players from going vertical. This is because this strategy is much slower than true vertical strategies and needs to play defensively to be able to survive long enough to be able to make as many buys as it needs to. The third piece is yellow coin defense. As we mentioned previously, this strategy is slower and requires defense to be successful. You'll need to watch out for which players are doing the best, and to remove their best cards from play, you won't be buying these cards or really using the yellow coins until the very end of the game, but it's worth it for you to eliminate cards that are very good for other players' strategies, as your strategy needs the end game to be successful. What we've been looking at here are all of the green tier cards laid out. I've kind of divided them into 3 different tiers. The top tier are the 1-point cards that cost 4 of one kind. These are generally not good for this strategy, as they cost too much in terms of coins. You don't really want these, and if they're out, they'll stop up your game. The middle tier are just the ones that are worse. They cost 5 coins for no points and a gem. Nobody really wants these. You don't really want them either. And then the bottom row that has most of the cards are all the cards that are good for you in this strategy. So most of the time you'll be able to make buys that make sense for this strategy. We'll zoom in here in a second and show you what we've got. One of the things that's counterintuitive about this strategy is that you don't just focus on the colors of the guilds that you're trying to achieve. You first want to get at least 1 card of every color to make your purchasing at this green tier as cheap and as frequent as possible. This is because many of the cards at this tier cost 1 of many different kinds of colors, and having 1 of each will make most cards free or nearly so. This will allow you to spend more turns making buys and less turns taking coins. At the green tier, the color cost associations aren't the same as they are at the yellow tier, so green and blue don't stick together, and red, white, and black don't stick together, at least not in the same way. There are some predictable color codes for some of these better cards, like these one that costs 2 of one kind and only 1 of another to get a gem for 3 total and not 3 of a kind. Those are predictable. They're -2 and -1 for their 2 colors, so the colors are always white, blue, green, red, black. So the green one will cost 2 white and 1 blue, since white is 2 colors ago and blue is 1 color ago. That holds for all 5 colors in this set. However, for this strategy, this doesn't matter. You don't need to know these things because the good cards are obvious. They'll cost 3 instead of 5, and so people will buy them. So you don't need to memorize anything like that. You just need to buy the cards that cost you the least number of coins. For example, you can see why these cards are worse. They cost more of one kind, which is going to be an issue for you because you're going to have at least one gem of every kind very early. That way, these discounts will apply for you. These cards are going to be less good for you until a little bit later when you'll have 2 of most things, and these will become less expensive for you. They'll be good for you eventually, but not early. Finally, the 4-cost 1-pointers. These can be good for you in the late game as you're trying to pick up your final bridge points to get to 15 after you've gotten your guilds, and to get the last card in a color if you need to get to a guild. But you shouldn't think about these as good options before the late game, because they're going to cost you coins, and you don't want to be spending coins if you don't have to. If all is going well, and you get into the late game, you should be able to be picking up 3 guilds total if you're doing this strategy correctly. That'll get you 9 points, which means you need to pick up 6 more points somewhere else along the way. A lot of times that's going to be 2 blue or 1 blue and 1 yellow to wrap up the game. Ideally, the last 2 buys are both point cards, 1 blue and 1 yellow, or 2 blue, and finish out your last 2 guilds. So you go from having your 1 3-point guild to having a 7-point turn and then another 6-point turn, and you win the game the 3rd turn after you finish your first guild. You also get to spend down your 10 coins that you've been holding this whole game to accomplish this, so make sure that towards the end of the game you take the coins that are in the color that you need to finish out these high point blue cards so that you can win quickly and efficiently without having to wait around to take coins to make that happen. There's 2 kinds of blue cards that work well for you, neither of which are very good for other players, so there won't be a lot of competition for these cards because they cost so many coins. The first kind is the kind that costs 6 of one kind and 3 of 2 others. The other one is one that costs 5 of one kind and 3 of 3 others. These are extremely expensive cards for anyone except for you, so you shouldn't have to worry about them getting defended or taken by other players who want them. Because you're closing in on 3 guilds and should have 3 of several kinds to be able to do that, sometimes this latter kind that costs 5 of one kind and 3 of 3 kinds, sometimes these cards only cost you the 2 coins to get to the 5, which makes them extremely affordable, and buying 2 of them helps you wrap up the game with your guilds to get to 15 exactly. The timings will be very tight this late in the game, so it's critical to end the game as quickly as you can. Finally, a quick defensive primer for you. Because this strategy is slow, you'll need to be good at defense throughout the game and not miss good opportunities to defend. The best time for yellow defense, where you take a yellow coin and steal a card away, is when you can see that someone's saved up to buy a specific card that's out on the board, and that those coins can't really be spent on anything else. And then you yellow that coin away from them so that they have dead coins in hand. This means that they've wasted turns taking those coins that they will now have to throw away or use inefficiently on cards they don't want. That means that you've played the yellow defense correctly. However, it can also be a good idea to just yellow away cards that are foundational to other strategies quickly before other players can have a chance to yellow them and reserve them for themselves. For example, in this picture, the 5 green cost 2-pointer in the yellow row, I would just yellow that right off the bat, make sure that that's not out there. It's better to take the foundational cards away than to try to defend the blue cards later, because there's ways to get around that, namely yellowing cards blind off the blue stack until you get exactly what you need. Even more important than the yellow coin defense is chip defense. It's not intrinsically important for this strategy to have a lot of coins all the time, because you'll be making buys frequently without spending many or any coins. However, it's critical for the success of this strategy that you maintain a bank of at least 8 coins at all times, and to take coins whenever you have 7 or less coins. This serves two purposes. One, it prevents other players who are going vertical from taking 2 of the kind that they need on their turn. And second, it will prevent players from getting the colors that they need at all once those piles run out. If you're able to sit on 3 or 4 coins of the main color that somebody else is going for, their ability to win the game will be severely impacted because of the ways that they'll be stuck trying to get the coins that they need. Finally, just some practical advice. Since your turns are going to be limited to choosing between one of the 4 green level cards on almost every turn, you should be watching each other player take their turn. What cards are they looking for? What coins do they take? How many points do they have? Check in on each player on their turns to know what they're up to. And that will allow you to make better decisions about how to defend them and know when they're at critical points. Do they have 7 coins? Do they have 10 coins? Do they have to make a buy this turn? Are you going to be able to take the coins that they need away from them if you take coins this turn instead of buying? Can you take the last yellow coin if you take a yellow coin this turn? Most often what you do on your turn will be determined by whatever the cheapest green card is, but being aware of what other players are trying to accomplish will allow you to know when it's important for you to make your defensive moves, and to do them at moments where it will set back the leading players by more than one turn. To sum up, this strategy is a defensive strategy that aims to get 3 guilds by taking almost entirely green cards until the end of the game, where it'll take either 1 blue tier and 1 yellow tier card, or 2 blue tier cards to get those final 6 points to end the game. It will be a rapid ending, where you'll rapidly escalate from 0 to 3 to 10 to 15 points in about 3 or 4 turns. This strategy really puts together a lot of the pieces, being aware of the different types of cards, being aware of the different kinds of players, knowing how and when to defend, and correctly identifying which of the nobles to go for at the beginning of the game. Good luck and have fun!